All right. Shall we? Yeah, that's true. Shall we get into it, you guys? What do you reckon? Should we do this? Yeah, I missed this. It's been a while. Oh my god. Yeah, all right. I am recording. Yes, I am recording. Oh god. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Welcome to the 33rd episode of the Board Game Gateway podcast. My name is Neeber, and I'm your host for this evening's endeavor or afternoon, whenever you happen to be listening to this podcast. I am joined by two of my co-hosts, the Mr. Ralph.
Hey, everyone.
And Mr. Damien.
Hi.
And we are not sitting around the table at the moment. We are actually meeting online on Discord. So if you're thinking it sounds a bit weird, just bear with us. That's what we're doing. We have done this before, so we do like to think we know what we are doing. But we are doing it for a couple of reasons. We just wanted to make sure that we're all healthy and happy. There's a couple of really cool things coming around in the corner. And Damien, you are just getting over the spicy cough. So we thought, let's not risk everyone in the group. But we still wanted to get around and chat about board games.
Yeah, so listeners, I've been away for work for a little bit. And I brought back a bottle of wine, some gifts for my kids, and COVID. It was great. It was a great time was had.
I have a question. Yeah. Did you take your copy of Six Nimmt with you?
I did.
Oh, did you get
great?
You got it out? Nice.
I did.
So where did you actually go though? I mean, you said you went on a trip, but where did you take it?
I for work I traveled to Seattle. So we had a series of team meetings there. That's boring, but we did get to play a few games. We played Six Nimmt, and the other game we played was Scout, and that was
lovely.
And we played Cockroach Poker. Apologies.
3 great card games. Nice. Yeah. Well done.
So we had a good time.
That's great. Yes. That's great to hear. And so, obviously, if you want to see, we still have a video version of this podcast, which you can find on our YouTube channel. So please, if you want to go and check that out, you still can see us all having this lovely chat. But we've been away for a couple of weeks due to personal reasons. So we decided to get back into it. And the last episode before we get into the games that we've been playing over the past couple of weeks, the last episode that we recorded was our Board Game Gateway's Board Game Geek Top 100 draft. And we posted out the results of our draft to our Facebook page, to our Discord. We even posted it onto the Board Game subreddit, where at some point we were like the 3rd or 4th highest ranked post in the whole subreddit, which is pretty cool. And we got a lot of votes. We're making it in the world. We had some really funny meta jokes that came out from this, one of which was that, I posted the ban list as well, and then everyone said, well, whoever this ban person is, they've got a really good list too. So the ban list started getting votes. But if you want to listen to that whole process, the episode 32 had our draft there. But I wanted to read out the results from this. So we had a total of 122 different votes over the course of all of the different places where we posted. So this was compared to the last time we did a draft where we only had about 30 or something like that. We've increased by nearly 400%. So woo, go us.
Yeah,
so
I'd like to point out, I did not vote for myself, unlike others that are on this call.
I'd like to point out that I had to vote for myself because someone. Okay, so for any of our listeners watching on the video, you know what? Fuck it. Just to prove a point. Okay, the games actually are like right behind my chair here. Are actually 2 of the games that I was not allowed to vote for that only exists on my shelf.
Yep.
Okay, so I maintain I got fucked over. So
yeah,
carry on.
It's fine.
To bring it up again.
No, Damien, and I will gladly say that I did F you over, but I will respond in saying you had a poor draft strategy. They were open for the picking, mate. You could have taken them any time in the early rounds, but you first picked the crew. That's not my problem. That's your fault.
That's a great game. That was going to be on my list, to be fair.
I'm not saying it's not a great game, but if you wanted the big boy games, you should have got in early, but you didn't. Anyway, let's go to the results. So
it was fun, silly times.
It was fun, silly. He had the fun, silly times. So of the 122 votes, coming in 5th position with 11 of those votes was Mr. Matt. Mr. Matt came fifth. He did actually. A lot of people commented they actually liked his for a bit of the newer logical thing, but it struggled a bit there with some.
So
some.
what games did Matt have in his choice?
That is a very good question. Let me pull up the document very quickly so I can give you those.
And
Matt
I feel
had
like 11 votes is like out of what was 155 or something. Like that's quite
100,
low.
122. So he had just under
Right.
he had just under 10% of the total votes. And he had in his collection Decrypto. He also had Search for Planet X. He had Pandemic Legacy Season 1, Viticulture, and Mechs versus Minions were his 5, and he gained 11 votes there. So Matt,
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix of games there.
it's a hard look, and these draft things, like
Yeah.
you're trying to pick what you like, but you're also trying to pick what other people would like. So there's a whole bunch of things there. Then we go to the person who was in 4th place with 14 votes. Was I guess you could say 13 votes, given the fact that this man voted for himself. And I don't know if we should count that vote or not. But Damien coming in 4th place with 14 votes. His collection was The Crew, Azul, Too Many Bones, Blood Rage, and A Feast for Odin was your collection that you ended up picking there. So
collection.
That's all you're allowed to have. So all those board games that are behind you, you can get them out of here.
It's all right. I'll sell them. I mean,
that's fine. All right,
Might
and then
buy a
we
new car.
then we move to the podium place, the 3rd position. Now we have a jump from 14 votes up to 23 votes up to this player. And this person with 23 votes was Mr. Blake. His collection was Ark Nova, Root, Quacks of Quedlinburg, Concordia, and Blake and Clank is what my mind said.
Personally, I think Blake had one of the stronger collection of games for gateway gamers in particular. Probably not so much Root, but there's a lot of good, solid games that a lot of gateway users will have a lot of fun with.
And a lot of people who commented on this actually commented of the fact that this was probably the best overall collection, and rightly so. I thought it was too. I thought he had a really good strategy going in, but he ended up getting 23 votes. So just under about 20.
What we'll do, Nee, we'll be arm in arm, and we'll have Blake in the middle. You know, like 1st place, 2nd place is me and you, right? I don't know who won yet, but but we'll give Blake a shout out. You know,
Blake did really well. I thought he had a really good strategy. I think there was a lot there, but in the end, a lot of people seem to pick based on like 1 or 2 of the games that they really liked. Instead of the whole collection, but it's kind of like when we are limiting ourselves to only the top 100, those lists can be very polarizing. Anyway, so obviously by process of elimination, that leaves Ralph and myself in the top 2 spots. I will say the person who came first got 38 votes, and the person who came second got 33. So it was only 5 votes in it, and so it was quite a lot of. I actually had to double check my votes. So with 33 votes coming in second was Mr. Ralph. He had 33 votes there, and his collection was Gloomhaven, Mage Knight, Cascadia, the Arkham Horror, LCG, and Spirit Island. And then obviously that leaves me to come in first here with Brass Birmingham, Eclipse, Gaia Project, Food Chain Magnate, and Dune Imperium. And so I go 2 for 2. I go back to back in the draft so far. So woo, go me. But that was honestly such a fun project. We actually did have a really big amount of discussion starting to pick up around about. Some people were like, I can't believe these are all the new games. And the people were like, did you not read the title? They literally said it's just the top 100 list. And I chimed in and said, yeah, one of my favorite games at the moment is Tigris and Euphrates, and I could not put that on my list. And they're just
and
like,
I think I had some older games in my list as well.
The question I have is that, Ralph,
if
you were only allowed to keep those 5 games from your collection, how many games would you have remaining in your collection?
If I was to keep, I was terrible at these questions in maths class, man. Like, if the bus cost me this much.
No, I'm genuinely curious. So the 5 games that you picked, Are they
Yeah.
in your collection? And keep in
Nope.
mind, you'd have to get rid of everything.
A big fat
Hang on,
zero for
that's
me.
a different question. But yes, I do own all 5 of those games.
Okay, so you'd have 5 games left over.
I will have
He
5
would.
games.
He
Yeah.
would, yeah.
So me, I'd also have 5 games left over. Nee, how many games would you have left over?
I'd like to plead the Fifth Amendment at this particular junction, Your
Man,
Honor.
I can see on the video, Damon, in our background, we have our games. So you got nothing there, Nee. What's going on?
I've had to move from our gaming room into the study for the recording this evening. No, I actually, look, I have 0 of those games. I guess on a technicality, Brass Birmingham has been at my house for the past 5 years, so maybe squatters' rights
you
means
got
it's mine
squatters'
now.
rights,
Anyway,
say, like, we had a great positive response to it, and some people actually pointed out to me, like if I put Arkham Horror LCG in my collection, that's just the base game, and that's only 3 scenarios, and it's not that great. It's like a demo of what the game really is. So, like, imagine you put your favorite PlayStation game in, and you only get to play 20 minutes. That's fair. But I was trying to, what it brings to the table, really.
To be
is what I was
fair,
going
like
for.
too many bones. I was considering everything.
Yeah,
Too
and
many
so-
bones
so was I.
only gets better when you add more gear locks and stuff like that.
See,
Yeah,
so-
the
and
gearlocks
so
are
was
what
I.
makes that game.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was doing the same thing with when I was thinking of Twilight Imperium. Even though it got banned, I would have considered it with the Prophecy of Kings expansion. So I think.
Oh, it's great without. I played that for years.
Oh
without
yeah,
the
absolutely.
expansion, so,
No, I agree
yeah.
as well. Anyway, that was the results of our Board Game Gateway Top 100 draft. It was a lot of fun. We have a couple more fun segments that I say a couple more. We got a lot more fun segments we've got planned for the future. This is not the last time we'll do a draft, but it's certainly maybe the last time we'll do a Top 100 draft for a while. But
yeah.
we have a lot more things actually planned out for like specific themes of games, which could end up being really interesting. So
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. So anyway, that was the review of the draft, but also in the time period that we've been away, we actually held a Blood on the Clock Tower night, and by we I mean Mr. Ralph. He held the night, and I finally got to go to it, Ralph.
I know.
finally got to one.
We've been doing these nights once a month for about 7 or 8 months now, Damien and I, and it's just been growing and growing. We're getting a solid 25 people there constantly for the last 3 or 4 months, and it's the first time you were able to attend. So I wanted to hear from you. What was it like playing Blood on the Clock Tower?
Oh, look, it was a lot of fun. So the whole night itself, there was about 25 to 30 people there, as you said. You had 2 scripts going at all times throughout the night, and I think about 3 different games went on. I know the advanced script had 1 big game and then a second basic one, but the basic script, we got through at least 3 games. That's 4 games actually. I played 3, and one of them I sat behind you to have a look at the game master role. So I was really interested in that. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I am. If you've listened to this podcast, you'll know that I am very not skeptical, but I'm a bit trepid on original Werewolf. I do like Resistance and Secret Hitler and those kind of games, so I do like those. I do love hidden role games. But the way that you were selling me on Blood on the Clock Tower, when you would say things like, "Oh, there's a logic puzzle here" and stuff, whereas in my mind, these games are not about the logic puzzle. It's about calling your friend a dirty, rotten liar and then trying to convince them from that point. But I will say that the amount of roles and the way that they interact, so in the basic script, did not make me feel like that at all. It actually was like, oh, you could have your chance to lie, but it actually was a lot of fun trying to figure out a puzzle here.
Ralph, I'm going to jump in quickly because you're definitely more of an expert on Clock Tower than what I am. But I will say that so with Troubles Brewing, which is the introductory script, I find that to be obviously more beginner friendly. It's really good because you can whip through a number of games relatively quickly, so you can get 2 or 3 games in a night and reasonably comfortably. I actually find that to be more
Engaging?
more engaging, more detective like, because I find it easier to grok all the roles at the same time. Some of the more advanced scripts, they're fun, not because I find them more detective like, but because they just start to get really silly and wobbly. And I think the thing I like about Blood on the Clock Tower is that it isn't. I've never seen it as a you do this, you do this script, and then as you get a little bit better, you do that script, and eventually you do Is it Sex and Violence? I think is Sex
Yeah,
and
Sex and Violence, and
Violence is the last one.
the next one is Bad Moon Rising, and the
Yeah,
following one is Sex
then
and
yeah,
Violence.
that's right.
SECTS, not the
Yes,
bad word. As
and
it took me until after the game and I read it and I went,
It's a bad or a
oh,
good word.
Yeah.
It depends who you
oh.
ask.
and violets is in the flower.
Yeah, exactly right.
Apologies, listeners. Like again, I'm still kind of getting over COVID here, but the point I'm trying to make, and Ralph, I'll definitely hand the floor over to you in a second, is that I think the thing I love about the scripts is that it's less about I've got more experience. I'm now going to go through the various scripts. It's I want to walk in. I want to have a sort of like more talkative, but really more detective like sort of night. I might do Troubles Brewing. Whereas if I had a couple beers and I'm just up for like one of the most wobbliest games of Blood and the Clock Tower ever, I'll probably jump to one of the more advanced scripts. Just sit there, beer in hand, and have a laugh the entire time because it sometimes it can get absolutely bonkers silly in some of those other scripts.
Well, I tell you what, you can have that experience, the silly experience, even in Trouble Brewing.
Hmm.
For example, there was one game I was legitimately a Slayer, and I did my shot on the first day and just missed. So Slayer is I pick a player. If they're the demon, they die. Game
Yeah.
over. Good team wins. I wasted my shot on the first day, and then I pretended I was really the fortune teller, and I was bluffing as the sailor, as the Slayer, and people believed me. so, so I was just causing chaos, but for the good team though. So I found the real fortune teller, and I trusted them, and I gave out their information, posing as them, and you can say whatever you want and get away with it.
Yeah.
The next step up is Bad Moon Rising. It changes the game. You'll like this one because it's not about the mechanical information in terms of detective works. Like you don't get players that go, "Oh, you sit next to one evil person." You don't get that. You actually have to read people, and then the clues you actually get are in the night phase where you notice, "Oh, you woke up, 3 people died. Why did they die?" And you have to work out why did they die. So it changes the game entirely. And what I love about the last script is the minions. Because the minions, there's one called the evil twin, which is always one of my favorites. I'm a legitimate good character, and I wake up and I get told, "Oh, your evil twin is this player," and that evil twin gets told, "Oh, Ralph is that type of character. And he knows you're the evil twin," and we both wake up on the first day and go, "Right, that guy, he's the evil twin minion. Let's kill him." But then that guy says the same thing and goes, "Oh, Ralph's the evil twin," and it just causes chaos because if the bad evil twin is executed, that's fine. Game keeps going. But if the good evil twin is executed, the game's over. The evil win. So,
Yeah,
so the
okay.
minion, you can mix and match this game, which is what I love. So you can have the chaotic minions even in Trouble Brewing, and just the game is completely fresh.
Yeah.
I
So
would
yeah,
I would like to point out to if you're listening to this and you hear us saying the word script, the good thing about Blood on the Clock Tower, which I didn't actually realize, which is that so the scripts or the 4 scripts that come in the game, three scripts that come in the game are essentially catered experiences where you don't take
20
roles from one
characters. Yeah.
script to another script. It's basically I hand you a menu and this menu says, in this game, we can only have these roles. We may not have all of them, but these are the only roles that can be played in this game. And so what that ends up meaning is that what I didn't understand coming into the night was that that was actually the case, which is that you don't just pick random roles and then the game master does it. It's like, no, there's specific ways you can play each of these scripts, and that then in turn makes the experience better.
Mind you,
So
you can do that, and I would
Yeah.
recommend you do that when everyone you're playing with is more experienced. So
Yeah.
the game is
Yeah.
crazy.
And
yeah, so
and you have to be you have to be very confident as a storyteller because there are a number of roles that get information on day one and then nothing else. There are a number of roles that get information at night. There are a number of roles that only get information under certain circumstances, such as when a townsperson is lynched or when someone dies during the night.
And it gets chaotic. Like I played there's a
yeah.
character called the Tea Lady, which I got wrong. And the Tea Lady is your neighbors can't die, but it's only if they're both good. I didn't realize that when I first ran it and just caused some confusion. So you really need to. What I love about this game, it's kind of like legal text. It's all in the wording and how it's phrased, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
have one really cool moment that stuck out in my mind, which was that in our final game of the night, I got given the washing woman, and the washing woman basically says you find out that one person is a role. You find out a role, and two people are one of them is that role.
Yeah, that's right.
So I didn't know what it was, and I got told that either this gentleman, I think his name was Brad, or this girl named Neve, one of them was the monk. And I'm like, cool, all right. So my first round, I basically spent the first 4 or 5 minutes trying to figure this out. And I had this moment where I went up to Brad offering him to do a 3-for-3 info trade. So I'll tell him 3 roles and he tells me 3 roles to try and figure out to get some more information. And he said, nah, that's too specific. How about I do a half for half? And I go, what does that mean? He goes, well, how about I tell you if I'm on this side of the menu or that side of the menu? And I went, sweet, tell me that. And so he goes, all right, I'm on the right-hand side of the menu, and the monk was on the left. And I went, okay, cool. So he didn't tell me the monk, and he could have been lying, right? So I didn't know. But then I went over to Neve literally after that conversation finished. And I think Ralph was in that trade of information as well. And so I went over to Neve, and Neve, I said to her, okay, look, I'll do a 3-for-3 with you. And she goes, yeah, you go first. And I said that to her, you go first. So she did. And one of the roles that she said was the monk. And I went, right. And I just, in my head, I just went, I know she's the monk now. Like, in my mind, I had to let her go first. I said mine. So then I took her further away from the conversations so that no one would hear her. And I just went, okay, so I know you're the monk. And her face just went, how the hell did he know, right? And I had this moment of like, I had to tell her that I'm the washing woman. And I told her how I got there. And then, but then we immediately had a trust for the rest of the game, which allowed us then to use that information to get the stuff. And they're like, sweet, and the win. So I actually played 3 games, but all 3 of them I was on the good side. I never got to play on the evil side. So I'm like, no, I really wanted to be one. But that's just like, that's the luck of drawing out of the bag.
It's kind of, this game's kind of like Coup in a way where the players need to realize they can bluff and you could like be okay with bluffing. Like I just went straight up to a person that night and I was like, oh, if I guess your character, you're going to confirm that it is. And I got him to agree to that. And I was just like, you're the Raven Keeper. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, you are. I got it. But that was actually my character. I was just messing with him.
And you know, and the inverse of that is also true. I think one of the hardest things that I've found with this game, particularly with new players, is that one, they're not willing to bluff, but they're not willing to tell the truth either. So they sit there in silence. And I had one game where I was the chef, and I was the only one talking. For anyone who knows me, that's probably not anything new. I can talk under wet cement with rocks in my mouth, but I was the only one in the circle talking. And so I just announced I was a chef. And I kept prefacing this. I say, look, this is what I found out. I found out that there are no pairs of evil players sitting next to each other. So the evil players are separate, and I kept saying, unless I'm drunk, this is what I know. But because no one was saying anything, that was the only information the group had to go on.
Right.
We played the whole game. I realized on the second to last day that I was absolutely drunk on day 1, and we had prefaced all of our information on that one thing. And the game finished, and Evil Team won. Like it was just an easy game for them to win, and that's fine. But the cool thing about it was that it actually wasn't me who said it; it was someone else in the circle who said we lost it on day 1 because no one was talking, and that's such a big thing in this game. And I appreciate it's difficult, but particularly with new players, I would say overshare. Especially if you're a member of the good team. Like you have to find ways to do that because, like Werewolf or rather, well, maybe not Werewolf, but
I can't
certainly
compare
other
this game to anything
No,
else.
no, you can't. No, I was about to say like Werewolf. No, it's nothing like Werewolf. But you have to be able to you have to be able to talk. You have to be able to, you have to be communicative in this game. That's sort of like the best advice I would give anyone. because otherwise, unfortunately, the game just falls over if you're not.
I think that's the case with a lot of hidden role games, but yeah, look, I'm looking forward to the next one. The community
Yeah,
was
me
really
too.
good. We had people come from the other side of Sydney, which was nearly an hour away. So like people came out, they were willing to come out. So this game does have quite a cult following, which is great, and the
Yeah, it's
community
just
is
growing as well.
highly passionate about it, which is great. So look, I
Yeah.
already put the next event in our calendar.
Yeah, I think
It
we
was
got the next one the 26th of May.
yeah, so it's
Which
in
is
like
quite exciting.
2 weeks from now. So I'm really keen, really looking forward to it. Anyway, that was just a review of our Blood on the Clock Tower evening. So that's a bit of a review of some of the big events that we've had over, but we do want to have a quick chat about some of the games that we've been playing in the Cup in the last couple of weeks. Damien, you've just received a couple of big, lovely Kickstarter boxes. But there's one in particular you kind of want to give us a quick overview of and just share your thoughts on. So why don't you take us through that one and the people at home?
Yeah. So just sort of quickly, I was away for work. I was in Seattle, and a Kickstarter that I had that was a year overdue almost arrived on the day that I landed in
Wait,
Seattle, which was great.
did it come from the States as well? Like, could you have just gotten it?
You know what? I
Probably.
didn't think of that, but probably I probably could have just grabbed it and just brought it back with me. But I'll just say quickly. So I briefly played it. I played a fair few solo games while I was traveling. Just not much to do on a flight. Played a lot of Friday. That was fun.
I've never
So
played Friday.
Friday is just evil in a box. I will
Yeah,
say that. And
I've heard that. Like, I'm keen to
yeah,
give it a go, but I've
yeah.
heard that.
The app for anyone who's listening, the app is like a couple of bucks, and it is a great app. But I will talk about that another time. Maybe we'll have a segment of games that just infuriate you to tears, but for some
Yeah,
reason you keep playing it.
I think Hostage Negotiator got me with
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So Friday is probably the one for me. But the game that pretty much has not left my table while I've been isolating in the games room because there's a sofa bed in the games room is Hoplomachus Victorum. So Hoplomachus Victorum is a game from Chip Theory Games, the same people that made Too Many Bones and Burn Cycle and Cloudspire. So for anyone who was listening last time, Too Many Bones made one of my top 5 games. It is brilliant, but Hoplomachus Victorum is actually a reimagining of Chip Theory Games' first game, which is Hoplomachus. The difference
It's
here,
not Hungry Hungry Hippos, is it?
it's not.
No,
No,
okay.
no. It'd be
Muckus.
it would be the most expensive version of Hungry Hungry Hippos in history. But Hoplomachus Victorum is a solo-only version of Hoplomachus, and Hoplomachus is a gladiatorial combat game where you have a map. Map is on a lovely neoprene board, and you take your gladiator and your crew of misfits. They're not really misfits, they're just other types of units. You have fighters, you have defenders, you have archers, and then you have tactical units that can hamstring your opponents or can buff people on your team. Combat is very, very simple. You literally move on this hex grid, and when you are within range of one of your opponents, you roll some dice based on your attack value, and hits are hits. There are blank sides on the dice that count as misses, and that's it. It's pretty simple.
It's a very
The
heavily thematic and like story driven game, isn't it? It's
No, actually,
no
no.
story.
There
I
is
think it's
no
just like
story.
a battle thing. You keep going
Yeah,
to
it
the next.
is.
It's think of Mortal Kombat. You know how you keep going up the scale.
Basically,
I think it's
yes.
that.
Trying to
Yeah,
defeat Pluto or something, isn't it? The
that's
god
right.
Pluto.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So the premise behind Victorum is that Pluto has got the shits with everyone. He has threatened to blow Mount Vesuvius again, except this time the ash is gonna cover the entire planet. And you as a hero, you have to go through and basically try and beat Pluto or one of his other scions in 4 acts. And acts 1, 2, 3, you are trying to ultimately beat other heroes. So basically, the game has 8 heroes. You pick one of them. 3 of the remaining 7 will become heroes that you have to beat at the end of
Oh,
of
okay.
acts 1, 2, and 3, and then
Right.
Act 4 you beat Pluto's either Pluto or one of his scions.
So the mark of a good solo game to me is always challenging, and you don't.
Yes.
The win rate has to be less than like 30% for me. Is
Yep.
that kind of the vibe here?
It is. So early on, the game's very easy. Typically what happens at the beginning of a round, and there are different types of rounds, and I won't go into detail in all of them, but the premise is basically this: you stop in a location. There are 8 locations on this map, and the reason why that's important is because every location will have a different arena, and
Okay.
those arenas will have different things happening. So you've got one arena which is more hill-like, and if you're higher up on that hill, you do more damage. You have another arena that actually has 2 wild units walking around, and so it's basically two
Like animals.
2 animals, yes.
Yep.
And then
Beasts.
you have another arena which has a chariot. You can actually hop on that chariot and go for a ride, or you can get run over by the chariot.
Right.
You've got things like that,
Yeah, that's cool.
and basically what happens though is, depending where you are, you stop in a town in one of these areas on the map. That determines the arena type that you're using, and then on top of that, you, depending on the type of battle, you will get one of 3 different cards, and that the text on the card will determine the special rules for that battle. So it could be a King of the Hill, or it could be a blood sport event, but your enemies will have additional health, or your enemies will roll the same attack that you currently have. There are, for the 3 different types, it's like a really sort of thick wad of different cards.
How long do the battles go for? Like, if you were to set up one battle before the next encounter, like roughly how long
So
would
the
that be?
battles themselves take about 10 to 15 minutes each.
Oh, that's
Right.
long for a solo game.
It is. Now, this is the kicker with this game. I'm enjoying the game. I thoroughly am. Because I've been in isolation, this room has been secluded to just me. So I've been able to leave the game set up. And it's been really handy when you combine to like COVID and jet lag. And so 2 a.m. I'll just be awake and I'll be rolling dice and having fun.
The family just hear the chips clacking together.
Basically, yeah. But here's the kicker. There are 12 rounds in each act. There are 4 acts in a game.
That's a long playtime.
48.
And there's about 15 minutes on average. I mean, we'll call it 10. I've had this on my table, and I think I've played all up about 8 or 9 hours worth.
It sounds like you're play testing the game for them.
And I'm only in Act 3 of my very first game of this.
Now I'll play devil's advocate here. Given the cost of this game, though, is that a bad thing that they're giving you a lot of bang for your buck here, or are you feeling that this is really going to be, though, a niche product that a lot of people are not going to pick up specifically because of the reasons you've stated going forward?
To answer that question is, I don't know, because I'm very much on the fence with this one. I'm enjoying the experience. The problem I have is that I'm enjoying it now while I'm in Act 3 after there's been so much progression in the game. Because one thing I didn't mention is that depending on the type of event will depend how the game progresses. And after after every single sport or blood sport event, so the chips that you pull out, they actually get added back into the bag, and then they become available later on. So the bags, so your pool of enemies gets stronger as you go through the game. So as you're leveling up, the enemies are getting harder too. It doesn't start off like that though, and so the game is really easy at the beginning, but there's still this huge and long ramp up. So to answer your question, Nee, I don't know,
Right.
because I'm not the biggest solo player. When I originally got this, we were still very much in lockdown. That, like I said, this is over a year late.
Now you're still.
Well, this is a funny thing. I'm back in isolation, but when I backed this on Kickstarter, I was very much like in the midst of lockdown. I was playing a lot more solo games. Playing a long-winded solo game that I'm likely going to have to pack up and bring back out regularly. I tend to want to play a different solo game, not the same one.
Okay.
In saying that, though, what I'm hoping for, and I've actually mentioned this to a friend of mine who has the same concern with this game, is I'm hoping that over time the community actually generates scenarios for this game, and I think that's where the game will really shine.
Cool.
Is that if we can, if the game can get to a point, or the community can get to a point where they start developing really interesting shorter scenarios, I think the game will absolutely shine at that point. But to basically have 48 different battles for one combination of hero versus other minions, and then a scion. Just to put that into context with another game, they're similar. So Too Many Bones, for instance, even if you were to play one of the longest events, it's 5 hours. At even at 3 players, maybe 6 hours with a new player. I've had this on my table for 8 or 9 now.
I have a quick question for you.
Through the game,
would it piss you off to go through the entire campaign to not fight Pluto at the end? Like, I'm just gonna I've gone through 48 different battles here, like 12 hours worth of gaming, and I don't even get to beat Pluto. I just have to beat up one of his best mate.
Well, you can basically pick Pluto and fight him straight away. But the reason why they suggest not to, so you can get a feel for the game.
Right. Okay.
I appreciate that, but to tell someone that you need 48 battles to get a feel for the game seems a bit rough.
Okay.
So yeah, again, I like the game. I'm certainly going to keep playing it. But I'm certainly hoping that the computer that the community comes up with a way to condense this down. Because it has a very, very long tail, this game.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, like when I read the description of this one, I never heard of the game until you mentioned it the other month. It's a solo campaign like session of a game that you're a gladiator. Like the theme and the description was just incredible to me. I was like, this game, I have to play it. It sounds absolutely amazing. I watched actually a bit of a playthrough of it, and it looks very hands-on. Like you're very involved. You're touching the components. They're all lovely. And I think every chip theory game that I've heard of, at least, is always exorbitant. It's always a niche product. It's not everyone's going to enjoy it. They generally cost quite a bit of cash as well compared to other games, but they're totally worth it if that's your thing. Like they're quite incredible.
Yeah.
All
right.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope the community does get around it for you, Damien. I hope they come up with some new things. But thank you very much for giving us an overview of Hip Hop Anonymous.
Hip Hop Anonymous. Victorium.
Thank you very much for taking us through that one. Anyway, we're going to move on now. Ralph, you wanted to just touch on a game. We're going to move on because you wanted to touch on that. You speaking of legacy / campaign sort of style sort of games, so you just completed one.
I did. I got to play Arkham Horror. I completed a campaign this week. I dived deep into the solo thing, and basically I was rushing through this campaign because I really wanted to complete it before my life changes forever. But I've got to play Arkham Horror: The Path to Carcosa, which is, I believe, a 7 or 8 scenario card game where you are a investigator. In this one, you're actually going to go see a play. The play is called King in Yellow. There's a performance, and you watch the first act. You think it's okay, and you get up to leave, and you end up falling asleep, and you wake up, and you realize, oh, people in the crowd are actually dead. Where is everyone? The stage is all tattered. It's terrible. And then you get up to leave, and you can't leave, and the story kind of plays out through the cards, and you have to kind of work out what's happening. So that's like just the first campaign, the first scenario. and then the second scenario, other things happen. Trying to avoid spoilers, but basically, I completed it. It was incredible. There was quite a few scenarios that were highlights for me in my Arkham Horror LCG career, I guess. But I've dived deep into the deck building, thoroughly enjoying it. Gonna create another investigator and go through it again a bit more slower this time. I'm going to enjoy it a bit more, let it breathe. But this does suffer as well. Whereas if your investigator was to die, you get like a permanent scar and you move on to the next scenario. However, if you reach like your threshold or like stuff can just happen in the story, your character just dies and that's the end. You go back to scenario 1 if you want to play again. You can't see it through to the completion of it. So Arkham Horror is a notoriously cruel game. Everyone I know plays it on easy and they have a great time with it. It's just not necessarily that the game is it's already challenging, but it's just really mean. And they have the grim rule, which is basically if you need to house rule something or if there's 2 spots an enemy can be spawned in, spawn him on you. Make this game as tough as possible for you. So this game
Yeah.
is quite challenging. But yeah, I ran through the 8 scenarios, finished the story. I won somehow. That was amazing. But yeah, I can't wait to show you guys some Arkham Horror someday. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, the way you talk about the game, it makes me really interested to actually try it out. I mean, it's very obvious to anyone who's listened to our podcast that I'm not the biggest single player gamer.
Oh no,
But
this is multiplayer
but you
as
can-
well. Yeah, you can play. I'd recommend 2 players.
Cool.
3 is doable. It's a bit more longer. But yeah, highly recommended it too.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that one up. I look forward to talking a bit more about that. We're actually going to shift gears now, and because we'd like to talk about our gateway game of the week this week, which is King of Tokyo. And the reason why we picked this as our gateway game of the week is because we want to have a chat. We've talked about games like Garnchon Clever in the past, but we were thinking about dice rolling and the idea of like one of the board games that a lot of people know, but they don't actually think of as a board game is Yahtzee. We've called Garnchon Clever is known as Sexy Yahtzee on this podcast, but we wanted to give you other options than just Garnchon Clever. We wanted to bring up some games in this space that we thought which have a lot to do with rolling dice and what fun ways they do it. So the game that we're going to bring up, so King of Tokyo, which is designed by Mr. Richard Garfield, as you look on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, we've got it there. But I'm going to give you a brief overview of what this game is. So King of Tokyo as our gateway game of the week, the way that it works, it's essentially a King of the Hill beat 'em up, where we are all take the role of kaiju or monsters, big monsters who are going to destroy a city of choice, whether or not they be New York, Japan, whatever. You get a robot, you can be a lizard man, you can be a Mothra sort of variant, nondescript Godzilla, if you will.
You can be a penguin.
You can be a
I was gonna
penguin,
say,
right?
No. You can't be the penguin
I
because
can't
I'm
be
the
the
penguin.
I'm
I'm the penguin.
Everyone wants to
Fair
be the
enough.
penguin.
You are quite cold.
He's literally holding ice pistols. He's obviously the coolest character. Now, the way the game works is very much Yahtzee style. You have 5 dice, 6 dice. You have 6 dice.
6 dice.
6 dice.
Listen.
Oh, I love that sound, the clack of dice. And what will happen is you roll those dice. And now the game is the first person to 20 points is the winner. Now, you can earn points in a couple of ways. The first way is you can literally take 3 of a number, whether or not that be 1, 2, or 3 on the dice. And if you take 3 1s, that's worth 1 VP. 3 3s is worth 3. 3 2s is worth 2. Very easily.
I must say, that is the most complicated rule I've ever had to teach.
Yeah,
it took me a little bit to get my head around that. Basically, you roll 3 of one number. That's how many points.
That's how many points you get for the round. And if you
if you roll a 4th of that, you get one extra one.
Yeah, you get 1 extra point. So it's like you want the triple. Now, the other way that you can score points is by going into Tokyo. Okay, and by going into Tokyo, what you essentially do is at the beginning of every other person's turn, you get 1 VP for doing that. Is it at the beginning of your turn?
No.
Beginning of your turn.
At the beginning of your turn,
you have to stay in Tokyo.
That's right. You have to.
However, more players.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, you have to stay in Tokyo. You'll get points, but here's where the catch is, which is that if you're in Tokyo, every other monster outside of Tokyo can just beat on. They can just go, you know what, you're in Tokyo, get the hell out of it, bang, 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 whack, 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 and you can start taking health. This game does have player elimination, so if your monster loses health, all of their health, you are out. You're done. But when And when someone damages you, though, you can choose to get out of Tokyo, and basically they have to come into Tokyo. Basically, it's a dog pile. Now, the advantage of being in Tokyo, however, is if you hit, like roll the hitting dice, you can hit every monster outside of Tokyo, which is really powerful, especially in a lower player count game, like at 3-player games. The fact that I can hit 2 of you and two of you can hit me is pretty cool. And then the final little part of this game is that there are a couple of like power cards. So you can actually store up some energy. Those energy you can spend on cards that may give you a little power up, whether or not that be some extra victory points, or maybe it says, hey, every time you hit a monster inside of Tokyo, hit them for an extra damage or something along those lines. Rinse and repeat. You just keep, so every time you roll the dice, you lock in as many as you want. You roll 3 times on a turn, and then you resolve the actions of the dice, and you go to the next turn, and you rinse and repeat until someone has 20 VP, and therefore they are the winner, and they are the king of Tokyo. This is the game. Now, I haven't played it as much as you two lads. You both own the game, but we love this game for what it is, which is a fun, silly beat-em-up romp. But it does have a little bit of issues, which I want to get to at the end. But I want to hear what you guys think of the game, like, given that it's in your collections.
I love it. Like I think it was like the 3rd game I ever bought. And it was certainly the first game I bought with the intention of playing with the family, as in a game that wasn't a card game. And we've got custom house rules here. Well, we used to when my youngest was younger. Around the game, the thing I love about the game is that it was the first game that I played with my kids where you'd have stand-up moments where there would be times where you'd go, if you roll 3 claws, you win. And so they're just going mad, just trying. So they'd roll and they'd like secure some
That's
claws.
cool.
They roll again, and it's like, yeah. We've even had one scenario where my son, so my eldest son, he notoriously he's got this affinity with dice. He's just one of those people, and it drives me insane because I don't. But hey, and he'd be right.
It skips a generation.
It skips either.
You got the dice curse.
Yeah.
Natural
Exactly.
ones are bound for you, sir.
Pretty much. It's like this is a kid one time where he grabbed a D20 in a game store, rolled it along the floor, rolled 20, and he walked away. And even the person at the counter just gone, I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. So he's just that person. But anyway, he knocked me out pretty quickly. Like his sister somehow stayed in the game round after round, and it's gotten to the point where my son has gotten so confident, he's sitting on 6 health. His sister has bought the card which allows her to get the extra die. So she's rolling 7 dice at this point, and he's got 6 health. And I told her, I said, if you get 6 claws, you win. It was already 8:30 at night, and I said, look, it's bedtime, so whatever happens end of this round, we'll declare the winner. My son's gloating. As far as he's concerned, he's won. My daughter stood up, like little hands, has grabbed 7 dice, thrown them on the table, rolled 6 claws, and then got up and just went to bed. That was
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's the coldest move. I'm not even going to stay here to, you just deal with it. I'm off. That's so cold.
That's what I love about the game, is that it's silly. It's great to play with kids. It is silly. You're not supposed to take it seriously, but it is equally fun. And I've had a ton of fun just having 4 or 5 mates around a table, a couple of beers, and like we could play cards, or we could just chat and play King of Tokyo, and we'll end up playing King of Tokyo. So that's what I love about the game.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. You can get like special cards that give you extra dice to roll, and poison counters you can give out to people so they take extra damage, and like there's a lot of fun there. But you're right, Damien, it's the moments this game creates out of nothing. It's really silly. But like basically on your turn, you roll your dice. Oh, let's have a look at what I rolled. Okay, what can I do here? Like, and you just pick which dice you want to re-roll, and it's really simple. Like it just goes around the circle. But it creates those moments, like I needed to roll 4 hits to win the game and kill everyone, and I was in Tokyo, and my wife's like, there's no way you're going to do that. And I did my first roll, I got 1 hit, picked the rest up, didn't care. rolled again, got 3 more, and I was like, I've already won on my second roll. That's sick. Like, and no one believed it. Like, it was out of nowhere. But yeah, like I played this with my mum actually, and just little things where it's like, okay, I got the heart. What does that mean? She's like, oh, that means you get healed 1 health, and she's like, my health? Like, what do you mean my health? Like, it just took her a little bit to understand that because she hasn't played games with player elimination, right? So she had to understand that, okay, your grandson hit you, now you're healing back up. So it was good to teach those mechanics, and I feel like this game does that really well through the symbology of it. It's very bright colors and things like that. And after she played like maybe 2 turns, she was into it. Like, she understood it fully. We managed to get through a few games, and I even played this at a Bucks party. I know it sounds sad, but we'll kind of just like, those times in the Bucks party, the night's going to get huge, but there's a bit of downtime before that. You
Yeah.
can't go hard the entire time. So 6 of us were literally just playing this around, and we're like, you know what? We're all going to die anyway, right? And we're here to get drunk, let's say it. If you're dead, you take a shot. Let's start the night. Let's go. And I'll tell you what, even the guy who won, we just took a shot anyway. Like, it was just a fun, silly way to sort of start the evening.
Yeah, look, I like the game. I will admit, the first time I ever played it, it didn't really resonate with me. I was like, I don't know if I really enjoyed this. But then once I kind of understood what this game was, as I started playing more games and what place it had in my collection, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. This is not one you take seriously. This is literally one you just get in, roll some dice. The only little issues that I have with it, and they're little nitpicks, which is that I always feel like the cards are too high valued based on the energy that comes out. Like, most of them are like 4 cost or 3 or 4 or 5 cost, and I'm like, I really wish they were like 2 or 3 cost. So it's like I can just roll 2 energy, buy a card, can't use it this turn, and do it again. I always feel like I don't get to use them, like, because they always look so cool, but I feel like I have to either commit to victory points or the end, like, and
I think
otherwise, but
the first expansion fixes that a little bit. Like, I don't necessarily play with the expansion, but there's a few times that I have on the internet. And basically, if you roll 3 ones, typically that's just 1 point, but you actually get a bit of a power up as well. So you still get some sort of bonus as well, which is pretty cool.
yeah, and look, and this is something as well, which is, these are little nitpicks, right? As a
Yeah,
gateway game, I actually really dig this game. Now that I understand the theme, I get that it's actually supposed to be like a King of the Hill dog pile. Like, you have to, it's a bit of push your luck in that sense of like, you can stay in there if you want, but if you keep doing that, you're probably gonna die because so maybe make the right choice.
Especially since while you're in Tokyo, and this is a really important rule, you can't heal while you're in Tokyo.
Nope.
And
That's
that is
right.
brutal because you are just getting absolutely smashed. And you're thinking, if I can hang on, I can get a couple more points, but I'm probably going to die. Or
Yeah.
the best part is you hang on and you look at someone at the table who's barely hanging on themselves, and then they hit you. They don't want to, but on their last roll, they roll a claw and they hit you, and you go, I'm getting out. You're now
Yeah.
in Tokyo. And
There's the strategy
"Nah."
there. It's good fun.
I do like that, of like having the idea of that you can hit me in Tokyo if you want, but then I can pull you into Tokyo and then I'm out. It's like, that is a really cool rule. And so, look, I really do like the game. I think it's also really cheap now. It's like $35 Australian, which is real cheap.
I think I just went for a walk and found it on the street. So
yeah. It's really cheap. It's everywhere, and it is a really fun game. So
yeah,
we don't want to spend
I
too much. Oh, sorry, you go, bro.
I just want to say, like, I do highly recommend this one as a very simple gateway game. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
people that aren't gamers, sometimes they pick up Catan. Somehow they pick up Catan, and I don't understand why. Pick this one up.
I would
More
also
fun.
like to mention that there is also a pretty good BGA, a board game arena adaptation as well. So if you're just looking to play it and you just want to have some banter, we've played it on BGA. I don't really like it asynchronous. I would much rather play it in real time, but yeah, that's all
me
right.
too.
It's
What I
a lot of
like
fun.
about this game too is you don't have to play a Cyber Kitty or the Penguin. You could just, like, if you're into Gundams or something, just say I'm the Gundam.
Get one of your little
whatever you got.
gunpla. Get a little gunpla model.
If a little girl has a Barbie doll, I'm gonna be Barbie in Tokyo. Like,
That's fine. It's fine. Yes. All right. So the reason why why we talked about wanting to use the King of Tokyo as our gateway game of the week was because we wanted to talk about the next step up from Yahtzee, about these games that we all like. We've talked about a lot on this podcast, the tactility of components and specifically dice. But dice themselves, we wanted to give you a couple of games that have dice mechanics in them, but then utilize other things on top of them. So similar to King of Tokyo, which has dice and then this kind of push your luck mechanic in the King of Tokyo of like, the King of the Hill, we wanted to bring up a couple of other games that we thought fill that same void, that you can play by yourself, that you can play well with others. There are a lot of these games out there, and we thought we'd open up this floor. So, Damien, we're going to bring it back to you here because there was a game I think that you wanted to bring up in regards to these kind of dice games with more mechanics added to them that that fill this void.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it sort of to smaller dice games because again, I could bring it back to Too Many Bones, and in fact, I've got it almost within arm's length.
I think that's kind of what the people want to hear. I think we talk a lot about the big games, so I think that we need to tell them about some of these smaller games that we have.
Look, there's a bunch of really good ones. There's a bunch of really interesting ones out there. I'm not going to take Ralph's thunder, but there's one that both he and I really,
feel free.
really
Feel
like.
free.
I was going to say like Fleet the Dice game is still one I keep coming back to. It is a brilliant game. So very, very quickly, that one is quite literally you play as a manager of fishing boats, and the theme is daft, but please stay with me. It's actually a very good game. And on your turn, what you are doing is that you are rolling a collection of dice, and you are picking different types of fish. So typically, everyone at the table will pick a die, and then whatever die is left, everyone shares. And what you are doing is you are marking off either licenses, and the licenses will give you bonuses for that particular type of fish, or you're marking off boats, so you're unlocking boats. And the reason why that's important is because every other round you'll have a fishing phase, and you will then go through, and depending on the type of boat that you have, so for oyster boats will allow you to fill in two fishing sections. The other boats will be one. You'll then basically collect fish. You are fishing. The other half of the game is a market phase, where again it's the same thing. And mechanically, it's the exact same thing. You roll dice, you pick one die, whatever die is left, everyone shares. I love that mechanic about it. It's so simple, but at the same time, because there's no hidden information, you can look at the other person's board, and you don't really need to. Like you generally can remember whether someone is leaning into the lobster strategy or someone's going more so for prawns or something.
You taught this to me at GooberCon, and I remember big crab. It was like, I'm big crab. I was like, okay, he's just going crab.
And it's just like but because of that, you can do a little bit of hate drafting as well.
Love that.
It's again, that very, very simple mechanic of pick a die, whatever's left over is shared amongst everyone, brings in a ton of different decisions. There is another game in the series, Three Sisters. It's similar, but for me, and I bounce between the two, but I always come back to Fleet. I really think the mechanics in Fleet are just solid. They're so very, very good. I will quickly mention as well, the other one I wanted to talk about was Railroad Inc. Railroad Inc. I think it's a great game. It's about route building. So during your turn, you'll roll a bunch of dice. Everyone will use the same dice, and you'll try and build a route. And there are certain rules around, so whether you build a route, build a road, so on and so forth. The thing I love about it though is that it is a package about that big, and it's about players.
Yeah, it's about 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter box.
It's a 10 by 10 box. It almost fits in a pocket. It certainly fits in a pair. So like,
not gonna fit in a pocket.
In a back pocket, it'll fit in a back pocket of a pair of jeans. Yes, it would, 100%.
So look,
I would love to see you wear a pair of jeans with this in your back pocket. It's not gonna happen.
I said
coming to a YouTube short. To a YouTube Shorts. Right, I'll do.
Is that a game in your pocket or?
Why, yes. No, but the thing is, the thing I love about this game, look, we've spoken before about pub games and things like that. Railroad Inc. is not my favorite roll and write game. It's still a good game though.
That's
But the thing I
great.
love about it is that it's a tiny box, and you can play up to 6 people with it. And if you get one of the other tiny boxes in the series, you can play up to 12 people with it. And it's just bonkers how much game there is in something so small. So they're probably the two that would stand out for me. But Fleet is a banger. Fleet
I do want to say, like, in Australia, we got hit with lockdown a couple of years ago, and it was actually my birthday during lockdown. And Damien actually bought me a copy of Fleet. Like, the theme didn't grab me, but the fact that he sent me a little note. I kept the note, Damien. Look.
Oh, that's very lovely.
Nice. Look,
yeah, thank you. It was a fantastic game.
You're very welcome. Again, for all the listeners, the theme is daft. It didn't grab me. I'm rolling.
It's a good game.
It's a great game.
The theme didn't get me at all, but yeah, the game's fantastic.
See, when I hear Fleet, my mind goes Starfleet. Like, my mind immediately goes, this is sci-fi. So when you said you want to play Fleet the dice game, like, yeah, sure, and you whip out this game about fishing boats, I was like, yeah, all right, cool. What's this? And by getting to the end of the game, I'm literally sitting there going, "Oh God, I got to play that again." It was so good.
Yeah, it was really good. It's quick too. I love how you're ticking off the rounds. Like, there's not many roll and writes I know where you tick off the rounds you play.
Yeah, it's good. Ralph, do you have any games that people may want to have in their step up?
There is one that I highly recommend as well. I lent it to you. Need to experience it yourself as well. That is Super Skill Pinball Arcade. Quite the mouthful, but it's essentially a pinball machine. So in this game, it comes with, I think, 4 pinball machines, and they have, I think, 3 different versions of it. They even have a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation version of it, which I have to pick up. I love that movie. But essentially, in this game, it's very simple. I love a roll and write where you just roll 2 dice, because you can literally play this game like whilst you're on a plane, or like in a very tight space, and like you don't need a lot of room to play this game. But essentially, you roll 2 dice and you pick a number, and you go, all right, well, first off, when I start the pinball machine, I'm going to launch the ball, and I might launch it with the number 5, so that way it goes into that area of the pinball machine. And then what happens to a ball when you're actually playing the pinball? It moves down the pinball table. So you roll 2 dice again, and okay, all right, I rolled a 3 and a 2. I might take the 2 and make the ball roll into this bumper thing and let it bounce around the bumpers for a bit. Then I'm going to roll the dice again. And essentially, every time it hits a bumper, you get a point. So you roll the dice, you pick a number as to where you want to guide the ball, and you can then, tick off the points as you get them. And you're just trying to get a high score. You've got 3 balls to play with. Once you choose a dice, you're crossing out the dice token on the table, so you can't use that section again. So it gets harder to juggle your ball as you're playing it. But then you might trigger a bonus where you get to clear some of the table and keep the ball active for longer, and you get multipliers, you get multi-balls, and it just represents a pinball table flawlessly. Like, the game flows. And there's different types of tables. There's ones where you have mini games and the ball gets sucked up into the table into this other section, and it's just, the rules are simple.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. It's a really simple thing. I've played it with Georgie, my wife. When we borrowed it from you, it did take me a long time to get to the table, admittedly, but I did commit to it, and I was going to say I played it. I did play it solo as well. I will say this game is very much a multiplayer solitaire sort of game, though. Even if you're playing with multiple people, you won't be interacting with them. Like, someone rolls the dice, you pick the dice, and then it's kind of like a pinball, tournament if we're playing multiplayer, which is who can get the best score from the dice, who can make the correct decisions. One of the, obviously you mentioned it, Ralph, but the big mechanic here is it's wiping sets of numbers, which is that if I'm in the bumper up here, I've got 3 ones only that I can lock. But if I get all 3 of them, then I can wipe that number and wipe out a couple of different things. And or if I can get the 1s, 2s, and 3s, that wipes all 3 of those numbers sort of thing. And now I can use those numbers again. So you're trying to push your luck. You're trying to risk it, what numbers you're going to roll, and then trying to get the biggest score possible. Each of the boards are very unique. I enjoyed my time with it. I probably won't go back to it at the moment. There are some more engaging Rollin rights for myself, but I really did enjoy it. And the fact that that comes with dry erase as well. So you can just mark it off really quickly. Yeah, like get through a game in about 5-10 minutes. All right, rub it off, mark down your score, and rinse and repeat and go again.
Yeah.
So I
Did you
do
write
appreciate
your
it.
score in the back of the rulebook out of
No,
curiosity?
I didn't, but I do have my
Yeah.
score in my BG stats app, so I
Alright,
potentially
cool,
I
cool.
should go back
Yeah,
and do
because
that.
maybe because I know you're very competitive when it comes to board games, so I was gonna challenge you to beat my score
Yeah.
in
You,
one of them.
oh no, they're on to me. Oh
But
no.
yeah,
I
but
look,
yeah, like
I like the tension that the game brings. Because I
Mm.
know Ralph, when so Ralph and I played it with a friend of ours, and he really got into it. He made the game for me. Yeah, because I remember one point I'm rolling the dice, and he goes, "Roll better. I need a
Yeah.
3."
And I
Roll."
loved how excited he got when something just works. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and
So
yeah.
yeah. No, look, I was going to say, like, the game absolutely brings in some this fun tension, especially when you are hitting the bump, like just the bumper just above the paddles on the first board is because I've only played the first board
Yep.
in this
The
game,
carnival.
the carnival one, yes. Where you are slowly but surely ticking off all those numbers, and then the ball's coming down, and you've already used your save, and it's like, I need to roll a 2. If the 2 does not appear on one of these dice, I am hosed.
Yeah.
And you roll, and there isn't a 2, and it's like, ugh.
I tell you
Yeah.
what, I absolutely love how you can nudge the table
Yeah.
and to manipulate the dice as to how you want it. But then the next roll, you might stuff it up and the table freezes and you lose the ball like
Yeah.
like in real life. Like that mechanic, that's sick.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
really good.
really good fun. It is really good fun. But you are entirely correct. There's very little player interaction. My experience with the game, what made it were the people at the table, because we generally are quite talkative and we just give each other a lot of crap the entire time. Doesn't matter what game we're playing. I reckon we could play Monopoly and give each other crap at the table just because.
Oh, we don't
Um,
need to be playing any games.
we don't need
to
to be
do
playing
that.
anything.
Like,
Just
it's
give each other
fine.
crap. But you are entirely right. It's like whether there are 3 people at the table, whether there's one person at the table,
Mm.
it's effectively the same thing,
And
which
look,
is probably
this
the knock
is
against the game.
Super Skill Pinball Arcade really to me is a solo experience anyway. So it's solitaire. It's literally you've got 10-15 minutes to kill, or you wake up early while you're on holiday, whip this out. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd like to bring up 2 very quick games that have 2 dice in them as well. The first one, which is a relatively new addition to the board gaming world, it's called Ready Set Bet. We've talked about it before. It is literally roll 2 dice and then horses run up a track. You can play this with one person being the game master. They roll the dice, or you can play with an app so you can keep them involved. But the game is literally just a
Can
horse.
you
Horse racing.
share who rolls the dice? Like, can you go all right, and you all get a turn each or something?
No,
Or would that
because it has
take
to
a
be done.
longer?
The game requires a certain momentum, so you want
Okay,
someone
cool.
who's
It's a
basically picking
pacing
up,
thing.
rolling, and doing things. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
but the game is literally just we're basically slapping down bets on this betting table. Once I put a bet on a specific slot, no one else can go there. And then there's a whole bunch of prop markets and a whole bunch of random silly rules that happen. And then at the end of the race, we pay out the bets, and the most person with the most amount of money after 4 races is the winner. So that's a really simple game, which Damien, we have played. We've seen it like the board game barbecue day.
Yep.
This is literally just roll 2 dice and have some fun on some random number generator, which is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I think, it's very simple. You don't need to play board games. You just literally know it's a horse race. Just tell people start slapping down bets and just watch the chaos ensue.
And you know what, Nee, I didn't tell you at the time. I can never ever play this game ever again. My anxiety went from like 0 to 100 when we were playing again. And my heart's racing, going, this is the board game. This is not good for me.
Yeah, so that's that, and so that's one I would.
You're like, is the gambling hotline on the back of the box? Or...
Well, it's not that. It's how quickly you have to grok the board while things are happening, and you're working. You're literally just doing probability in your head the entire time while people are just slamming bets down in front of you, and then you have that thing where you go, did they see something that I didn't work out? And then you realize at the end of the race, no, they were just grabbing any bit.
They were just slapping beds down. Yeah, and so it's a lot of random fun. I really do like it. I really do appreciate it. It's in my collection and will be for a long time.
Every real-time game is just chaos.
Yeah, and I do appreciate it. The other one that I want to quickly bring up as we start to bring the podcast to an end is one of my favorite games. It does have its issues, but I still love it. It is Space Base. We've talked about this game before. Space Base is basically a roll your dice game, but then you create your own slot machine in front of you. So you roll 2 dice. You have 11 numbers in front of you from 2 to 12. They each represent ships. And when you roll numbers, you can either activate both of the dice for their individual numbers or the dice together for their accumulative total. The bigger ships tend to do better things, but they come up less of the time. And your smaller ships do not as important things, but they come up more of the time statistically. Where this game becomes really cool is that you can buy more ships that do more things, but then you have to, you can replace the ships that are currently in your shipyard, and then they become inactive ships. Inactive ships always can fire or will activate on your opponent's turn. So you can come up with strategies for when I'm rolling my own dice, but I can also come up with a roulette machine that actually only is really good on everyone else's turn. And that's what I love about this game. It's it is random, right? And people don't like it because it's too random, and sometimes you can just be screwed by the dice. But you are at the whim of your own creation here, which is that you can be the guy who big balls it and goes, I want to put all of my eggs in the 9, 10, 11 numbers. And when they come up, it gives me 15 coins, 6 points, and 3 income. And it never comes up, sort of thing. And so I love Space Base for that reason. It's a lot of fun.
So Space Base does heavily feature on Board Game Arena, and I've played a lot of it.
Yeah, so have I.
I'm actually worried that Board Game Arena has ruined Space Base for me now, because now I'm seeing so many different strategies and then I'm winning pretty much all the time. It's nuts.
Yeah.
The low numbers on your opponent's turn, mate. That's one. I love that strategy. It's just because everyone's like, why do you keep activating? I'm like, well, you plebs keep rolling low. It's your own fault.
That number 4 card that gives you income, you get that early. That's nuts.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fun, but yeah, I really recommend Space Base.
On BGA a little while ago, I managed to win with the U-Win ship.
Oh, that's the USS Armstrong.
Because I managed to swap it all the way down to number 9, I think it was in the end.
Nice.
And then 2 9s came in a row, and it's yep, I win.
But I did that as well, but it was with the card of you can put a charge anywhere you want, and I just kept boosting to that card, and it was an easy
win. Which for those listening who don't know that is one really good thing about Space Base, and we haven't spoken about on any of the other games that have dice, is that one of the problems that I know I have with some dice-based games, and a lot of people have, is that there's no way to mitigate bad rolls. Space Base does have that, and it has it in spades, as far as I'm concerned. Where
a lot of these Rollin rights we're talking about do have that.
Fleet doesn't. To some, you can pick your die, but sometimes you can be left with just bad dice.
Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah. Super skilled people can, because you can bump the table. Yeah. But the thing I like about Space Base in particular is that you can lean into that. So you can have certain ships that have charges on it, and basically you can just use those charges in some ships will allow you to do that, where you can just alter the value of the die, and depending on what comes up and depending on the engine that you come up with, it is a ton of fun to have an engine where you get just the right die, and then you just keep changing that value all the way up or down to exactly what you need. It's yep, that was worth it. And then throughout the round, you just start charging again, and then you do it again, and it's really great when it works.
One of my favorite strategies is getting a big number, but then making it so it activates the big number and the number next to that, and that number also activates the number next to that. So you get this cascading effect of when those numbers are just hitting, you just feel like the king of the world. It can make you feel like crap when nothing is working. You're like, why do you hate me so? But that's the thing about dice, right? a lot of these games that we talk about with dice are here to inject a bit of fun and silliness and randomness into the game, and that's
what
why
makes
we
board
like
games
them.
fun. Where
Yeah.
exactly right. Where it just becomes that chaos and funny moments and the push your luck and you actually get lucky and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are some interesting games that we mentioned there. So we have the games that I mentioned: Ready, Set, Bet, and that one there, Mr. Space Base. Ralph, your games?
I had Super Skill Pinball Arcade, and I think I only had the one game actually.
Yeah,
But
and I think it was.
yeah.
And Damien, your games that you brought up for
Uh,
reminding.
Fleet the Dice Game and Railroad Inc.
Perfect games. 5 really good additions there if you're looking to up your dice rolling games. So, given that, we are going to start to close that one out here. Ooh, it was a big one tonight. We obviously had a lot to say. We haven't been here for 2 weeks.
Yes, it was a big one. I do want to do one honorable mention to a game that is very dear to me, and I highly recommend this game if you're that Sudoku player, but you want to play a game literally like a puzzle for like an hour.
Ooh.
Utopia Engine. It's a
Ooh.
free print and play roll and write. It just uses 2 dice. You can even use 2 dice on your phone with an app.
Correct me if I'm
And
wrong, Mr. Ralph. Was
yeah,
this our print and play winner for 2022 on the Golden Geek Awards? I believe. Is
this
that?
game's quite a few years old now, so
Maybe
this
it's
is
not.
probably going back 2011 or so.
Oh, so it's a lot older
Um,
than that. Okay.
They have done like touch-ups to the 2 pages that the
Okay.
game is, but I think it would have been different.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so this game, honestly, it's a really challenging and rewarding game. Highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. I might even do a video of me playing it on the computer one day. But yeah, it's awesome. Utopia Engine.
You can find that for free on Board Game Geek. If you type in Utopia Engine BGG, you can find the download link for it and download it for free and play it, print it out, or play it on your computer, which is going to be great.
The other place to check for it, and it's probably a good one for listeners, is the Print and Play Arcade.
Yes.
So the URL for that is pnparcade.com. If you have a look in the nav, there's actually a really good selection of free games, and a lot of them are roll and rides.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those roll and rides actually end up being production games today, but they are still available for free. The only thing you need is a couple A4 pieces of paper, a printer, 2 dice, and a pencil. There are some sensational games on there, so definitely go check it out.
Definitely, highly recommend that one. There are a few ones you can buy literally for $1 or $2. I just do that if the theme really hits me, but generally a lot of these have very small rules to them. They're very quick to pick up and start playing.
Fantastic. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we are going to bring episode 33 to a close. I would like to say thank you very much for listening in. If you enjoyed what you have watched, listened, however you consume this media, we'd like to ask you to please go ahead and check out our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/boardgamegateway, or go check out our YouTube channel, which is if you go to YouTube and type in @BG Gateway into the search bar, you'll find us there. We're looking to try and make the jump up to about 100 subscribers. We're already over halfway there, so we're trying to push towards that. We'd love to get some more followers and subscribers on those channels. And also go check out our website, www.boardgamegateway.com. We have written media, more links and things there ready for you. So on behalf of myself, my lovely co-host, Mr. Ralph, and Mr. Damien, I would like to say thank you very much for listening. We will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
See you, everyone.
Now we do the Scooby-Doo ending.
Damien, you have hair.
And he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for these dastardly kids.